This is Hot Mic with Tom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Wednesday show rolls on. Second hour, Harvey McMahon coming up in about a half hour from Horace as the Hawks get ready to take flight to start 2026 later this week. You'll see their game here on WDAY Extra. I have been trying to have a weekly UND football segment, frankly, over the last handful of years. And timing just didn't work. We would get, when Danny Freund, an initial run at UND, we'd have him on sporadically. Sean Kostic, who I know well, Moorhead guy, special teams coach up there, we get him on a few times. We'd have Bubba on occasionally. Schmidt's been great since he took over last year, but I wanted to set something up weekly. And UND practices in the morning, which is not conducive for our program, but powers that be worked it out that we're going to be able to record something with Eric before we hit the airwaves each and every Wednesday. And so we're going to do that 10 o'clock Wednesdays going forward. And this is perfect timing considering UND's got a lot of newsy stuff going on right now. Obviously, the Lance Rucker injury we talked about with Tom Miller on the show on Monday, to the cornerbacks that are going to play tomorrow that have the temporary restraining order in place from the previous court cases, that going for a fifth year of eligibility. So there's lots to chat about. Now, yeah, they play a football game tomorrow night. So we had a variety of topics here, going from Eric Stays' coaching at Washington, where made it to the national championship game and faced one J.J. McCarthy. We'll get his thoughts on that. But we start, obviously, with the biggest news, considering the All-American defensive end and Lance Rucker, who will be out for at least a month and a half with a foot injury. We start our conversation with Coach Schmidt just asking about the injury and where they go from here.
It was a freak deal. I mean, it was in a drill, so it's not anything like in a team setting that normally happens. He was in a drill, just a misstep in a drill. You know, when that happens, I think, you kind of give him some time and think, hey, he's going to be able to, get back into practice here at some point, and just felt like, hey, something was wrong. Went and got an x-ray right after practice and found out that he had a broken bone in his foot. So he's already, our medical team here has done a great job. I've been really, really impressed really since I got here. Just the quality of care, how involved they are in trying to get guys back to being able to play. So it's really on Lance now and how much he heals. The surgery went really, really well, talking to all the different people that were in the room. And he's actually starting PT here. His first day will be today. So we're hoping, sometime, not the first week, but starting in maybe the second week of October now, he can kind of be up at that point, and they'll do some testing at that time to see, hey, where's the foot at? Can he do the things that he needs to be able to do in order to be successful? Obviously, we want to get him back, but we want the Lance Rucker back that's out there that can protect himself, that can play at the level that we know he can play at. So feel terrible. I mean, obviously for him, when you put as much work in is that he did, when you come back, that you want you want good things for guys like him. When you start, talking about guys that are humble, that are loyal, that, I think care about the right things, relationships, development, that really care about the program here and want to see it do well. It's a crushing blow to see something like that happen to a person who's made all the right decisions here, since last season. So it is what it is. I always say, so what, now what? We got to move forward, and he's got to start attacking his rehab, and we got to get him back here in October.
Describe your depth there, Eric, of how confident you are to say, okay, we're going to need you for the next 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, well, I think Brody Thornton's a guy that we've really, really felt strongly about, even last year. So he played, with the 4-game rule that we had last year. We would have, if we know now what we knew then, like, he'd have played the entire season. We held him out just we didn't feel like playing, 150 plays was worth, sacrificing an entire year of your career, So we played him early on, and then we sat him until the playoffs, and then we played him in those 2 games. So I just think his progression, he's close to 240. He's probably a little bit heavier than Lance. Lance is probably 245. Brody's probably 248. He doesn't dent it in the run game, like Lance does. Obviously, Lance a little older, more seasoned that way. But, I mean, bottom line is really smart football player, been really productive, really since this time last year, is a guy that we, had serious talks about say, hey, do we pull the red shirt on this guy, and can he help us, be able to win football games? So like him, Braden Moore's a guy who, he's had some unfortunate things here. His very first game that he played at Iowa State before our staff even got here, he had a knee injury that took him all year to recover. Then last year he broke his leg against Montana, but he came back at the end of last year and was able to train here the entire year and has been probably his best version of himself since he's been here. And I think it's because he's been able to train. He had 7 months, with our performance team, and now he looks really, really good. So those two guys are two guys that'll get more reps now. And then the third guy is Eric Pay from Grand Forks Central. And honestly, Dom, Eric Pay is probably genetically in the top 2 or 3, run fast. I mean, back in high school, I put it on just the dunks that he had and stuff like that. Just super raw, athletic kid that, didn't play a lot of football. Like, he didn't play that much football growing up. He played everything else. So that part of it has been a little bit of a learning curve, but I feel like now is time for him to have a great opportunity to be able to help our football team.
I know you're not a lawyer, you don't play one on TV either, me either, but what has this been like to talk with compliance, talk with the university about your guys here that may be eligible, may not? How have you handled that through in camp? Because this is unheard of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, it's been learn as you go, I think, from all sides, whether it's administration, coaching, player side. I think the more you dig into it, the more I felt like, hey, man, I really believe in these guys. They're not guys who, obviously, there's a lot of different guys, I think, trying to take advantage of the rule right now. Like, hey, I was in the NFL and now I want to come back. Like, I don't think anybody in college football, once you sign a pro contract, you're a pro. You're not an amateur anymore. Like, these are guys that, in their situation, I don't know how much people have really dug into it, but hey, with the cases that happened a summer ago, the Pavia case was probably the most publicized one. Like, they gave everybody who was a 2021 junior college player an extra year of eligibility. And then they essentially did the same thing with the 5 for 5 rule that just came out for the 2023 class. But if you were a 2022 class and, you started at the junior college level, they're like, hey, you don't get the same exact, opportunities that the 21 or the 23 class did. To me, it's like, hey, well, if I'm in that class, that's categorically unfair. Like, yeah. Why does it work that way? But, the only answer that people will say is, well, it takes opportunities away from other athletes if you give those guys. Well, we've held these spots for these guys the entire time, hoping and thinking like, hey, common sense is going to show up here at some point, and you're going to be like, yeah, you're right. Like, these guys should be able to play. So we're not taking any opportunities away. We have a roster limit. We have these guys on there. For some reason they can't play, then, we'll go 2 guys short on our roster. It is what it is. They're guys who have both played a ton of plays for us. We think it's worth the risk to be able to do that. And they're on temporary restraining orders right now, so they'll be able to play all the way up until their injunction cases. And now we're trying to get those cases tried here, just so we know one way or the other. I mean, obviously it's frustrating a little bit as a coach, but I just can't imagine if I'm a player, in those situations. That's who I feel for the most, is those guys are sitting here every day like, am I or aren't I? That's hard to do, whether you're in your mid 40s or if you're, a 23-year-old guy trying to figure out like, hey, if this doesn't go through, what am I going to do? Am I going to stay in Grand Forks and live here? Am I going to go back home? Like, what's the next steps here? So I feel for those guys more than anything else.
Excitement level, Eric, seems like it's pretty good at UND from on the outside. Ticket sales like they're really good for the home games. Describe building off of last year, winning a postseason game, making it to the second round, and building on that in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, every year is different, right? But I think the momentum that you create, I'm a huge believer. I think just, in everything that I've been a part of now in this profession is you gain momentum throughout the year. I think what you do in January and February is just as important as what you're doing now and what's going to happen too as well in November and December. So you start with, all the winter conditioning and all that kind of stuff. And you want your guys to feel like they're getting developed, they're getting stronger, they're getting bigger, they're becoming more athletic. And then you go into spring ball and it's about gaining momentum there and feeling like, hey, we got some depth to our team. These are the new guys. These are some of the guys last year that are now carving out a bigger role, onto their team. And then with the summertime now, you get a lot of summer access time with the guys. you want those guys feeling really, really confident going into training camp. And then training camp to me is, it's the best time of the year, like, because it's really about what wins football games. You can take all these other things that you've talked about throughout the year, rev sharing, NIL, transfer portal, and you get for 4 weeks to really, it's no different than it was 50 years ago. It's say this is football now, and this is what what wins football games. But that momentum needs to carry over now into the season. And I think people, we like by no means are we satisfied. By no means, there's a lot of goals and expectations that we have for the program, but there is momentum, whether that's in recruiting, whether that's in, the results on the field. I mean, when you walk on the field and see our guys genetically, how they look, how they play, like, there's some things there that I think, some boxes you need to check in order to put yourself in position to be in that conversation. And I think we're starting to check more of those boxes as we go along here.
Have another year with Jerry Kaminsky as your starter. What's the seamless transition there? Like, we're building off, you just said, off what he did in 25 and bigger and better in 2026.
Yeah, I think great question, Dom. I will say this. People have asked me, like, hey, what do you think the difference year one, year two? I just think our offense and just the overall quality and quantity of the person that is in that room. Like, I think our offensive line room is, a lot's been talked about, like Liam Beecher and Trace Thaden here. Just as far as those guys are as athletic and as good offensive linemen, I think, as you can find, for sure at our level in the country. And I just think across the board, we lost Seth Anderson, who was really, really good. But, Caleb Olson comes back. He started games early in the year, then got injured. So you essentially got another starter coming back. Isaac Caribou, took his place. So I just think offensively, Jerry has a lot of confidence in himself. Obviously, things that went on this summer, and he grew a lot and kept developing. And then I think just naturally from year one to year two, like the learning curve's less. You've been through it. You have some confidence in yourself and in the success that you had year one. And then I think, our tight end room, I feel really, really strong about. I mean, Coach Haug's done a great job there, just building depth and the quality of the depth in there. And then the one thing I think we had last year that we knew we needed to do a better job of is that receiver. We felt like we needed to get more skilled. And I really feel confident the guys we have in here. Caleb Goodlow, we think, can be a really, really good player. Cam Weir has come in here. And then we talked a little bit about Eric Pay, but Dang, I think, is finally, there's a learning curve there. I don't care who you are, what school you come from, whether it's, Minnetonka or, the big school, let alone come from small town North Dakota and grow up playing a ton of basketball and now have to switch to football. There's a learning curve. It is what it is, but he is confident, really since back in February, just, found his voice, leadership, and I'm excited. I probably get more questions on Dang than anybody in our roster. He had that type of following in North Dakota in high school. And I think everybody, he's an easy guy to cheer for. And we're excited to be able to, watch his development. And I think he's really ready now to go out there and be able to really help our football team.
What do you know about Long Island? It's a newer FCS team that's coming in here. It's a Thursday night game. I know your guys are going to be amped to play. What do you know about the opponent you have tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think the one thing that they possess is a team that's constantly improved here throughout Coach Cooper, their head coach's tenure. This is his 5th year there. So last year they won 5 out of their last 6. The only game they lost, it was I think they lost 10-7, and they had the ball at the 2-yard line with under a minute left to go and couldn't score. Then they got the field goal blocked. So really, they could have won their last 6. It's like a lot of FCS schools out there. They started out at Florida and then went on the road and beat Eastern Michigan, which was a big win. Obviously, any FCS to FBS win is good, but they were banged up after that. So there was a lull there for 3 games, and then they got hot. Like I said, defensively, I think is where they're the most impressive. They're the number 1 defense in their league last year. Offensively, I feel like they have some weapons at quarterback. They'll play a lot of like 2 quarterbacks on the field, and do a lot of different things that way. You can obviously be creative when you have 2 quarterbacks out there, but guys who are athletic that can go, run a route, catch a pass, do those things, and then really, I think the thing that probably concerns you the most, it's the scramble drills, the off, whatever plays that the quarterback drops back and now all of a sudden he's just back there scrambling and plays turn into, 7 and 8 and 9 second plays instead of 3 or 4 second plays. And those are hard to prepare for sometimes. So, yeah, they're a good football team. They're picked 1 or 2 in most of the, I think 1, 2, or 3 in most of their, preseason polls and things like that. But they have some confidence. They've won a lot of games here, especially late last season. They got on a really good run there. So it's exciting. You get somebody in that's out of the area, and how it works in FCS football. I think obviously the conference games are important, but you want to get as many bids into the playoffs. These non-conference games and how your league stacks up against the other leagues really means something.
All right, I got to leave you with this. I tap into your great football mind. I'm sure you've been asked about this considering where you live, but your last gig for coming back to UND, is J.J. McCarthy going to make it? You had to go up against him. What are you seeing, and can he do it at this level? You saw it firsthand at Michigan.
Yeah, that's a great question, right? I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you. I just haven't followed the Vikes honestly as much here right now. Obviously, I think on the outside looking in, when you make a decision as early in camp as they made a decision, I think to go with Kyler Murray probably tells you a little bit, how they feel about it. But at any level of football, I don't care what it is, NFL, college football, high school football, you better have 2 really good quarterbacks on your roster, because the odds of you getting to those guys are really, really good. And I just think it's Sam Darnold, right? Like you can't ever give up on these guys. Some of these guys, they come in the league and you expect them to be able to lead a franchise, to resurrect a franchise, and in a year it takes time, man. It takes development as you go up the chain, man. It's just there's learning curves and skill development sometimes is an ugly process, and it takes time, and you don't have that time when you get to that level and you're a professional. So I think it's probably one of those things where he's got the the ability to be able to do it. It's just hasn't clicked for him yet. He probably needs some time and some confidence yet, but I think you get drafted at that point and win a national championship in college. He's obviously got some talent there. It's just a matter of can he put it together at that level.
This was great. I'm really looking forward to doing this each week. Good luck tomorrow night, and we'll talk next Wednesday. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dom.
And there's our conversation with the head football coach. As you heard, we'll do this each and every Wednesday. I think some really interesting nuggets there on Deng Deng, young man out of Four Winds, Minnewacan, who was a standout basketball player that flashed last year. He had a touchdown catch, I want to say, against Tennessee Tech in the FCS playoffs. And you heard Eric said that no one asked him more about any other player on the roster than Deng Deng, who could be set for a big year. Eric Pay is the other one. And if you were to watch any First Down Friday out of Grand Forks Central, or even any basketball, there's another guy, Eric Pay was a dominant athlete there. Rutgers a big deal, but again, you looked at their schedule when our interview was playing with Schmidt, that they're still set up. They're going to be favored in 6 of their 7 first games. 6 of their first 7 games, they will be double-digit favorites. They should be. They're 27-point favorites tomorrow night against Long Island. They're going to be that way against St. Thomas. They're going to be that way against Portland State. I don't care. It's on the road. The Nebraska game we'll get to. We'll talk about that when it gets closer, right? Then you have Indiana State. They'll be favored there, I know, in Terre Haute. Murray, they'll be overwhelming favorites in Grand Forks. And they'll be favorites in Cedar Falls against Northern Iowa. Come talk to me in the middle of October. That's when the schedule starts for me, when the Jackrabbits come to Grand Forks. And they have won the last 2 years. They've been up at the Alerus Center. That's when it gets interesting to me. But we'll see how it gets going tomorrow night when they take on Long Island. And he will join us each and every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Good stuff. All right. We'll break. We'll get caught up here with a few more emails to get to. A couple other topics I want to hit on as well. Harvey McMahon coming up as well in about 15 minutes. Back on Hot Mic right after this.